Hey guys, Chicky Domain, Deboo.com with a Deboo.com Surf Forecast Update. This forecast update effective around 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday, October 4th, 2016. And starts you off with a big picture, guys, single image. This is the second hurricane force low now up in here, the North Atlantic, in the last 7 days. And we're just in the first week of October. I don't think I remember seeing two hurricane force lows back to back this soon in October. We have an area of low pressure that's along here east of the mid-Atlantic. We're going to be talking about that in just a few moments. We have the tail end of the front, or the trough, in here that extends over Florida. We're also going to be talking about that. We have Hurricane Matthew now making landfall on the eastern tip of Cuba. We have his sister, Tropical Storm Nicole, just to the east-northeast of Matthew. And we now have likely 99L Invest down here east of the islands in the Intertropical Convergence Zone. National Hurricane Center showing 20% chance of development next 5 days. All of these features will play into the upcoming forecast, and is one of the reasons that makes the forecast so difficult when you have so many players on the board. This area that's east of the islands, if you saw our last update, we talked about post-Matthew, after Matthew cleared the area, that this would open up or increase the chance for homegrown development. So here this is now, but there are some changes this afternoon with the European model. We'll show you that here in just a few moments. Want to switch you over to the latest 8 p.m. National Hurricane Center forecast track. Folks tuning in, please do not take anything you see from this video as the gospel. Please visit the National Hurricane Center at www.hurricane.gov for all official watches and warnings. If watches and warnings are issued for your area, please heed the advice of your state, local, and county emergency officials. Here's the latest track for Hurricane Matthew. Portions of the East Florida coast now under hurricane watch, including Lake Okeechobee. That was added. There's a tropical storm watch in effect for the Florida Keys. All of the Bahamas are under a hurricane warning, with the exception of out here towards the Turks and Caicos. They're under a tropical storm warning. Most of the eastern tip of Cuba continues in a hurricane warning, along with the island of Haiti. The southern half of Cuba and Haiti will likely get their hurricane warnings dropped later on this evening. Going to switch you over to the forecast track for Nicole. Nicole forecast to remain out to sea as a tropical storm and then reduce down to a depression. We'll show you that in the models and how that may interact with Matthew coming up. Here is that area of 20% chance of development next 5 days. This is going to slide over into the Western Caribbean, guys. So the idea here is Matthew comes up, spins up here, hopefully goes out to sea, and then the tail end of that front may try and drag an area of low pressure up into the Western Caribbean, and we could be looking at some homegrown development in here. And here we go all over again, starting after post-Matthew. Not saying it's going to happen, just saying that the pattern is set where it could happen. Here is a neat animation today of Hurricane Matthew making landfall on the southern tip of Haiti, and then now current on the eastern tip of Cuba. This is the current position coming up right here, maybe a little bit further north of the eastern tip of Cuba, and the system is now moving into the Bahamas. If you notice, it's almost made a S-turn right through in between the islands. What are the chances of that? That had it just been a little bit to the left, a little bit more to the right, it would not have been classified as a landfall on either Haiti or the eastern tip of Cuba. Going to take you over to the 48-hour surface map. And this is showing Hurricane Matthew lifting up into the Bahamas. And I want you to notice how this red arrow is pointed at the end of the front. Rule of thumb is during tropical season, you always watch the tail ends of fronts or along stalled or dying fronts for an area of low pressure to develop. Sometimes in these situations, these tropical systems can try and attach themselves to the tail end of the front. Here is that other area of low pressure just southeast of New England. Now, this area of low pressure is going to move out into the East Atlantic, and according to the Euro, could be part of a blocking mechanism. And we'll show you that here in just a few moments. It's going to show you the 18Z run of the GFS. Mind you, this is one run, and no matter if it's the GFS or the Euro, folks living along the East Florida coast, you have to prepare for what could be a destructive hurricane, because any jog to the left by 25 miles could change the total outcome of what could happen for your area. Because the system is traveling so close, any slight movement to the west can change what the outcome is going to be for your area. Going to advance the model for you, and as you can see, MATH-YOO moves up from Cuba into the Bahamas, and then off the South Florida coast, there is a possibility of some brief eye touches along the coast. We've been talking about this for the last several days with the GFS. That still continues, lifting up into northeast Florida. Again, still possibility of eye wall touches along the coast with any wobble of the system. GFS moves it up off the Carolina waters, up towards the Outer Banks, and then wants to go out to sea with the system. I'm going to back that up for you, because anything past this point has become suspect with the afternoon run of the Euro. Folks in New York, New England, there still is the outside chance that you could experience a hurricane coming up. Again, same theory. Any jog to the left could change the total outcome. But this particular run of the 18Z GFS is showing an out to sea once past the Outer Banks. Now let's show you the Euro model, because here's where things get interesting, and we are seeing some in the imagery that this could play out and become a factor. Watch here. This is that area of low pressure that is east of the Mid-Atlantic, southeast of New England. Here is Tropical Storm Nicole. Here's Hurricane MATH-YOO. Here's the tail end of the front in here, draped over Florida. Now watch when we advance the model for you. MATH-YOO moves up into the Bahamas and makes a landfall in the central Florida coast, up into Jacksonville, up into South Carolina and Georgia. But look what happens here. Nicole is to its east-southeast by Bermuda. This another little area of low pressure has lifted up in here towards Jamaica. This other area of low pressure that was along the mid-Atlantic has now moved into the East Atlantic and is now going to start to act as a blocking mechanism. We'll advance the run for you just a little bit more. And you can see that as that blocking mechanism over in the right-hand portion of your screen now allows an area of high pressure to move in. And look what happens. It turns MATH-YOO back to the coast. Back to central Florida. Advance the model a little bit further for you, and then it puts the remnants into the Gulf of Mexico. Doesn't look like redevelopment at that particular moment. The area that was traveling that had 20% chance of development gets drawn up in here to the front. This looks like to be the remnants of Nicole back in here or somewhere over in here. But guys, look at this loop back. Now, what's going to happen here, if this was to verify, mind you, this is one run. This is not the official forecast. Do not take this as gospel. But if the hurricane comes in here, you're going to have power outages, down trees, all of that. But then because the storm loops back, and if we end up with tropical storm force winds, it's going to delay repair crews of being able to go outside and work. So you could end up with an extended period of being without electricity. And that's why it's important that you guys should stock up on whatever supplies that you need to in case that you're out of electricity for 3 to 4 days. Now, folks living along the coast, you know, I don't know whether or not evacuation orders are going to be issued and who for. That'll be something coming up over the next couple of days. I know a lot of counties are starting to close schools in South Florida. Those decisions will start to be made tomorrow in Central Florida and in Northeast Florida. But guys, this is a very serious situation that's developing. Again, please, the National Hurricane Center has the lead. Follow them for all of the official forecasts. We're just presenting to you what the models show. Now, some of these folks out there may think that the European model may be acting crazy. How can it do that? Well, there is some model support. And when we get model support, it starts to raise your eyebrow a little bit. This is the latest run of the UK Met. And then here is MATH-YOO down here over the eastern tip of Cuba. And we missed a frame here when we were loading up. But let's take you through the UK Met and show you what the UK Met shows. Up in here with a possible landfall into South Florida or a landfall or eye wall touch. Up in here towards northeast Florida or the Florida-Georgia line. Very similar to the Euro so far. Up in here towards the South Carolina coast. Again, possible eye wall touch on the coast. Here's Nicole back down in here. But look what happens to the UK Met. UK Met now moving offshore of the Carolina coast. Weakens the system, but drops it back down to the south as probably a tropical depression. And then what? Back towards the central Florida coast. So the European model and UK Met are basically suggesting the same thing. Tomorrow will be the telltale. Once the system gets up into the Bahamas, we still have a little bit of land interaction going on with the island, so we need to let the system clear and get back into some open water over into the Bahamas and let the air get sampled, get fed into the models, and let's see what the Euro shows tomorrow. But folks, a loop like this is not out of the question looking at the satellite imagery and all the players that are on the board. Sorry it's taken so long to get this video uploaded to you. We wanted to make sure that we get you the most accurate information available in the real time. Stay tuned tomorrow, guys, to our social feeds. We'll be updating again. We'll have another video tomorrow. And then it looks like that things are going to get serious after that. That's all we got for you for now, guys. Stay tuned for the next update.